About 2 weeks ago, an international team of scientists published in the journal Science Advances a report stating that the Earth is now well beyond the safe carrying capacity for humanity. So for today, I wanted to make a video about how recognizing the reality of collapse can actually inspire us to live more creatively and more courageously. And to do that, I'm going to draw from this book, Breaking Together, A Freedom-Loving Response to Collapse by Jem Bendell. Now, this book is divided into two parts. In the first half, the author looks at how collapse is an appropriate term for what's happening on the planet today. In the second half, he looks at what that means for how we live our lives. So in the first part, he looks at 6 key areas that are collapsing. There's the economy, where we're seeing declining standards of living across all continents since 2016. Monetary collapse, where our growth-based system is increasingly unable to extract more from our ecosystems. Third, energy collapse, where we haven't been able to delink our economies from energy consumption and CO2 emissions. Biosphere collapse, where we're seeing a rapid decline in biodiversity across the world. Food collapse, where we're losing arable land and topsoil. And finally, climate collapse, where CO2 is acting as an amplifier of all these other collapses. Now, by themselves, each of these collapses can have catastrophic consequences for humanity, but they're actually all linked, right? So say a collapse in the energy system means that we can't produce food anymore, which means that we can't also sustain our economy anymore. The second half of the book looks at how this realization that collapse is happening now can invite us to live more meaningful lives. So there's 4 key points here. The first, there's a pervasive misunderstanding that recognizing collapse means giving up. And that's false. Instead, it's an invitation to allow the full pain of our predicament, to liberate us to live more courageously and creatively. It's an invitation to, as the book title indicates, to break together rather than apart, and use our time here on this planet more wisely, more empathetically. Second point is that collapse does not mean we should stop trying to make things better. No, instead, it means we have to be more judicious and realistic about the solutions that are being offered, focusing on building systems that are resilient to collapse. That includes relocalization of production and consumption, and working towards common ownership of resources. There are so many initiatives out there that are making a difference in people's lives, and we should keep on pushing those forward. Third point is on the importance of defending human rights and reclaiming our freedom from infringement by corporations and government, right? So freedom is not the capacity to do whatever you want. Instead, freedom is the capacity to make informed decisions. And when people are informed, they generally make decisions that aim towards the collective well-being. And this is important because as the climate worsens, there's going to be more and more pressure on governments to take authoritarian responses towards climate collapse. And we need to defend our rights and our freedoms in this process. Fourth point is that we need to act out of alignment with our values instead of the likelihood of success. This is really important because it doesn't look like we're going to be very successful right now at bringing the planet back into a stable operating system. So we need to do things because we feel that it's right in our hearts. So if collapse is happening right now, why don't we hear more about it? There's a really simple answer to this question, and it's that collapse does not fit well into the techno-utopian agenda that says that business and technology are going to save us. I made this video not to discourage anyone, but instead to inspire us to recognize how grave our situation is and how this can actually invite us to deeply question what we're doing in our day-to-day. It's really an invitation to cultivate joy, to have more fun, to recognize the truth of our situation, and to lead from our hearts.